go. I think we're going to do a show. Are we doing the show? Yeah, we're doing the show. Hey, welcome to Office Hours. On this little broadcast here, we talk about technology. On Wednesdays, if you come on Wednesdays, we tend to talk mostly about audio stuff, and that's what we're doing today. I'm going to give you an announcement early because they asked me to. No, you know what? I'm not going to. I think Courtney's reading the question. Is that true? Courtney, what's the first question?
Why, the first question comes in from Minneapolis, Minnesota. TJ Asher asks, why do bands mic a guitar amp and use the sound coming out of that amp speaker rather than pulling the sound directly from the interface of the guitar? Even in concert settings, wouldn't direct to the board be better?
This is a lot. TJ lofted this up because there wasn't a lot of questions. This is a simple answer. Marty, what do you think, Marty? Do you have any opinions on this?
Well, I don't know. As the guy behind the board, I like a direct electrical connection because that's all there is, and I don't have to worry about any kind of bleed from anything else. But to the musician, the amp is definitely part of his instrument or their instrument. The tone of that amplifier is a part of their instrument, and they want all of that captured.
Yeah, of course. Okay, Courtney.
Yeah, I mean, musicians, especially guitar players, are used to listening, playing their guitar through their amps and listening to it in their, in their little studio or their living room or wherever they normally listen and wherever they compose that sound, and that's the sound they want to go for. Was it Ronnie? One of the Rolling Stones did a documentary on Chuck Berry, and there's a great scene of Chuck Berry insisting that they're trying to pull a sound from his amp. No, that's not the Chuck Berry, but you're distorting like crazy, Chuck. That's my sound. You don't understand. That's the sound I'm going for.
It was
just incredible screaming match between
in that documentary. He was yelling at the film crew wanted to turn his amp down because it was bleeding over everything else, and he went off on it. It was the guitarist from the Rolling Stones. I can't remember his name. Yeah. But that is one of the best documentaries about the music industry ever. It's really, really, really good. Ronnie, what do you think? Direct or through the amp?
Yeah, it depends.
It doesn't depend. I'm cutting you off.
It depends. And I'm going to explain to you, Chris, why it depends. One of the reasons is old habits. So you have a bass player on stage. He's used to, having his Marshall rig behind him.
Oh, we lost Ronnie.
Feeling the bass coming through his body before it leaves the stage to the audience. And that is kind of how they are used to listen to their own instrument. And as Marty says, it's a part of the instrument. And there are, in the newer days, people are starting to use in-ears like we use here on this show. And the musicians are listening to the in-ears. But actually the sound coming to their in-ears are going backstage to a rack where there is a physical Marshall or whatever amp sitting in a rack with a couple of microphones placed by the sound guy, and those racks are just transported like that and plugged into the system as a part of the instrument, and that gives that correct sound. And then, of course, there are newer inventions to add to this, and that is called an amp simulator, which the guitarist has put together with his 200 other pedals and can simulate the sound of different types of amplifiers as well. So that is the new digital version of that. But bass players, we tend to have both sound from microphones on stage and direct line into the board. So it depends.
So I will tell you, when I used to mix live sound all the time, bass and guitar are totally different. There's nothing more boring to listen to than a direct guitar, just a direct dry feed off of a guitar. So the amp is totally part of the sound. You're right. The amp simulators in modern day things, they've actually gotten quite good, and they can, They can mimic a Fender, twin reverb or a Vox 20 or whatever. They can do all that. And if you have a guitarist that's happy playing like that, and they may not be happy playing like that, it's an absolute blessing because you don't have all that stage wash and bleed into everything else. And that guy can be all dumb and happy in his in-ears and get all the sounds he likes. There's an added benefit to taking a direct feed off of an amp simulator. And again, totally different than just a direct feed. And TJ, thanks for lofting this up. Anyway, the other advantage is that band, when they go to their rehearsals, they're getting the exact same sound in any rehearsal room and any stage, regardless of whether they're playing a pub or an arena. He's got the same sound in his ears. So that's really a good thing if you're a small band. When it comes to bass, totally different than guitar. I'll tell you, the way I used to do a bass is I put an Audix D4 in front of the bass amp. I took a DI off the back of the bass amp, and I would also take the DI and run it through processing. So I always had 3 faders on my mixer just for the bass player. And I will tell you this, as a tech, as an engineer, when the band this is my experience, when the band sees how diligent you are to capture all of the subtleties and nuance of their performance, they start to really trust you. And when you come to them and go, hey, can you turn your amp down if you, like they see that you're not trying to just fight with them, but you're trying to make them sound as good as possible. And that was my experience. And I did the same with guitars. I would try and take them stereo off their effects rigs if I could and whatnot. But anyway, yeah, a direct dry guitar is the worst sound of all time ever. Really? Okay. Marty, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, that's right, Courtney. Stretching just a little bit.
I love it. So people know, I'm looking at we have this whole back end thing that tells it, and I was like, okay, I just wrapped that up. I put a button on that, and I look, and there's like 2 more hands raised. So anyway, Marty, go ahead.
No, these are all good points. Thank you, Ronnie, for talking about that, and Chris, from your experience. There are so many uncontrollable uncontrollable variables when you're miking a guitar amp. It's like, is the amp on the floor? Is it on a road case? What kind of microphone are you using? How is the microphone positioned? How far is it from the front of the grill? Is it angled a little bit? I mean, so many small details.
Does it get kicked? Does it get kicked on stage?
Does it get moved? It can dramatically change the sound that you get from it.
Of course.
Right, and when a musician is playing through a pedal board and it with whatever effects that they want to have, it's much more repeatable, especially with today's digital pedal boards. They can recall a setting, and it'll be dead on every single time, and it'll sound exactly the same. And the sound on the stage, the stage noise from all these different amplifiers, can really just go away. And they're working with their floor monitors or in-ears, and you've got a quiet stage, which just does a tremendously better job of allowing us to capture clean audio from the band.
Yep. Courtney?
Yeah, and Marty just touched on this. I was just going to mention that when you see them miking the speaker cabinet, it's usually like a dynamic microphone, like an SM56 or 57 sometimes. And they have it right in the center of the cone of the primary speaker. So it's going to it's going to get the maximum sound pressure, and the signal to noise of the rest of the amps on the stage is going to be high enough to make sure that you're getting primarily the sound of that particular amp. So miking is important. Also, grounding is important so that you don't have that 60 hertz hum coming out of that speaker all the time.
A friend of mine was a Grammy Award-winning engineer, and I was helping him in his studio years ago, and I was miking the snare, and he was like, okay, move it to the left. And I was literally moving like, do I have a prop? Anyway, it was like, move to the left. No, too much. Go back. And I'm like, no. Okay. And forward. No, not so far. And I'm like, not so far. I moved it like an inch. And the precision of the sweet spot that he was hearing and wanted to catch was super fascinating. Courtney, let's go to the next question.
All righty then. The next question comes from Douglas Carmichael. Douglas says, I remember reading an article that mentioned the use of a tube mic in an acoustic music event. Wouldn't you want to focus more on more durable mics for the live environment? Good luck getting spare tubes on short notice other than for a guitar amp.
Marty?
Well, microphones to an audio engineer are like paintbrushes to an artist. Everyone is different. Everyone sounds different. They have different voice characteristics. And a tube mic has a very warm sound, which lends itself extremely well to acoustic guitars, particularly when they're played well. As far as so they sound, much warmer and less sterile than a condenser mic or even a standard dynamic mic. As far as tube mics, well, you're always carrying spares with you if you're on the
road. Courtney?
And I might point out that tubes can be quite reliable. I've worked in studios where the microphone doesn't move. You don't put it on the road in a case and bounce it around. And that tube, it's the original tube from, 1935 that's in the U-47, U-87. So, and the sound of when we went into digital recording, a lot of people complained because for the first time, you're hearing unadulterated sound that's flat from 20 to 20,000 as opposed to stuff that went into harmonic distortion once you got up into a little bit of the higher ranges. And those tubes gave you that nice, warm, fuzzy distortion, and it eased you into the distortion and the harmonics a lot better. It gives you a lot better harmonics, I think, on the high end. And that's what they give you, that warm sound, And why they ever used a temperature to describe a sound, I'll never know.
I will tell you this about miking with let's say, non-traditional live mics. When I was doing live sound, my preferred sound for a snare, I like a real snappy snare, is I'd take a AKG 414, about a 45-degree angle, and just hang it over the edge of the snare. And again, going back to my comment earlier about you want to show the band how hard you're working to make them sound good, I would explain to the drummer, I'd say, hey, don't stick my mic. I don't want to have to put $100, SM58 on your snare. Would you just be careful with my mic? And they'd go, oh wow, I've never even seen one of these. I go, yeah, be careful with it, And of course, you want to tell people, anybody who's going to touch the stuff, what does Alex always say? The line about soft hands. He never wanted to hear somebody put a piece of equipment down. Courtney, let's go to the next question.
Next question comes in from Marty Atius in Maryland, and here on the panel. What about Behringer's new Flow 4 little mixer? Well, it's not a little mixer. It's a field recorder.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, we all know Behringer is famous for looking at other products and copying them. And I have to tell you that this thing with these little handles here, whoops, I can't point over it, on the side, it looks very similar to the layout of the Mix Pre that I have sitting next to me. Who's next? I can't. I was showing Ronnie.
Yeah, so they are trying to break into that market area as well as the other ones that already are there. Zoom, Mix Pre, of course. And I see in my local shop it's not available. It can be pre-ordered on request. So who knows when it will be available in my area. But they've even taken it that far that they included a bag in the lineup, and you can also extend it to more inputs, and so you can link it and have more inputs if you so would like to. So I'm not biased in the either direction. I think this is probably a correct price product with probably a good enough functionality to be competing with the other in that segment. I do not think they will be at the same level as MixPre's from some devices, though. No. So, of course, it's a budget-friendly product with some expansion options that are probably looking cool for a bunch of users in that segment.
It's definitely a field recorder. What do you think, Courtney?
Yeah, I think they tried to copy some of the best features from some of the other ones that are out there. I took a look at it and I read through, unlike a lot of people who were demoing it, I read through the quick start guide and looked at all the specifications on it. It does have some nice features, like it has new trick combo connectors on the 4 inputs that are on the, look, there's an invisible. Okay, let's go back.
Here's the combo connectors right here.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, so it takes a 1/4 inch or, standard XLR connectors. So that's good. It has 2 USB ports on it. That's interesting. One thing I don't like about the design is that it's using external power only. There's no internal batteries in this thing. So all the power has to come over a USB port. It can't accept power over you can plug one USB port that's power only and PD only, and the other one is audio and power. So if you connect it up to your computer as a USB interface, it can pull its power from the computer, and then you could plug a power brick or something into the second USB-C port to have it fail over to that if somebody yanks the cable out of the computer. So it has some good thought went into it. The 4 knobs on the front are encoders. They do not have stops on either end, so they just rotate completely. It is directional encoders, optical encoders. So at least they're not going to go noisy on you at some point. The Curtis Judd did a box opening and a first look in a live stream, but he didn't read the quick start guide before he started that live stream, and he didn't realize that the screen's a touch screen, and so he had to navigate the interface with the rotary encoder and the push button on the front, and he was really confused because he's moving between all the little things with the encoder and then pressing the button. But if you just touch the buttons on the front of the screen, it's a lot faster. Plus, it has swipe gestures for moving between menus, so you can quickly move between the different input menus, etc., using your finger. I don't know about the backlit buttons with color LEDs, because if as a field recorder you take it out in the sun, and when sunlight hits a backlit button, you may not be able to tell, is it lit up red or is it lit up white?
Good point.
Is it recording? I don't know. And it does have a timecode generator built in. At $279, the biggest feature is $279 price point.
Yeah.
Like Marty was mentioning, I think, or Ronnie was mentioning, a stage box, which adds another 4 inputs, XLR inputs, and 2 headphone outputs that's connectable with a single XLR mic cable and or a digital type DMX type cable. You can get longer lengths with DMX. I think 15 feet is the limit they put you for the regular mic cable. And I think with a higher quality mic cable, you can go a little further. But then all 4 of those inputs come over that single mic cable in their proprietary digital format. And it provides power down that single mic cable to that remote stage box. So I think it's kind of aimed at some musicians, like with a 3-piece group that's going to, jazz group or something that's going to perform in little clubs. They could record their sets through it and use the output for PA possibly. It does have, dynamics control on each of the inputs. You got limiters and noise gates and compressors. So a lot of that you can operate it. Also, it has on most of the other small recorders, I think almost all of them, including the Zoom F series and the Sound Devices series, in order to use Bluetooth with it, and it does have Bluetooth built in, it has an external antenna that pops up in the back. Because the problem with Bluetooth is if you're connecting over USB 3 to something, it interferes with Bluetooth if you get within an inch or so of the antenna. So they always have a problem putting the Bluetooth antenna inside the metal case of the recorders. But this one solves that problem by having a pop-out antenna on the back for the Bluetooth. The other recorders handle that by making you pay $40 for a Bluetooth transceiver that you plug into the USB port on the side. It also has backup capabilities. It has a USB-A port on the side of it that you can plug in a thumb drive into, and it'll record on its SD card internally. And when you hit stop, it'll copy all the latest files to the USB stick. So when you hit stop for the last time, after a couple of seconds, you can then pull that USB stick and hand it to somebody else and have a second copy of your recordings on a duplicate media that you can hand in. So it's got a lot of interesting capability on paper. We'll see when we try it out how accurate the file format is. It doesn't have, at least in the initial output, it doesn't have the ability to edit the metadata. Like, do you want to name your files scene and take numbers? Do you want to enter that kind of metadata in there? And if it's using broadcast wave files, we're not sure how accurate the encoding of that timestamp is, and whether or not it has a temperature compensated oscillator for its timecode generator. You can jam the timecode from an external sync source, or you can output it over an external sync source. And it has an HDMI input from your camera, so it can roll itself automatically.
Let's go to the next question. Let's go to the next question. Go ahead.
Oh, that's me. You want me to
that's you.
Talking?
We get to listen to you talk some more. Go ahead, Courtney.
Okay.
Try not to spend so much time reading the question as you take answering it. Go ahead.
From Don Brooksby asks, a building upgraded from analog audio to QSC equipment, and I'm getting a lot of garbage in line. I have a DMX and Scarlet to help, but too much noise. How would you clean that up?
Ouch. Marty?
Well, let's see. DMX is a lighting control, not audio, but so I wonder if he means Dante or something else. But so the biggest difference is, you're now using digital equipment, and if you're using stage boxes, those are digital connections. And those can be either their proprietary S-Link or Dante stage boxes, in which case you're going through a network. And networks can be noisy if they're not done properly. Digital equipment can be noisy if you don't have clean power, or if you are on different legs of your power system and there are ground loops. There's clocking involved between all of the different pieces of equipment. They have to run on the same clock speed. There's sampling rates and frame rates that you want to make sure that all of your equipment is running at the same speed and the same clock rate. A variety of things that could cause noise in a digital system that are different from the things that would cause noise in an analog system. And so, the first thing I would look at is any network equipment that you're using. Second thing I would look at is making sure that all of your sampling rates are at the same rate. Look at your power, make sure everything is grounded properly, and just go through your system piece by piece. And if you had an integrator do this job, call them back.
Let's see. Ronnie, what do you think?
I'm not exactly able to make sense of the question. I think there has to be a typo. Mixing DMX into a sound system is definitely going to give you a lot of noise.
I think just what he's saying is that he's just trying to give us a little bit of the environment. He's gone from analog to digital. Oh, by the way, we also have DMX audio in the room. I think that's all he's trying. I don't think he's trying to plug his DMX into his audio mixer.
No, I don't think so. And in case it's a typo, which could be because autocorrect is sometimes being a little bit difficult with the most of us, and even the best of us has experienced bad moments using autocorrect. It could be that he is talking about EMI, which is the QSC's version of the digital microphone interface. So it could be that. But either way, if there is a digital system from the stage box into the mixer or the matrix mixer, which probably is what is referred to here, I'm pretty sure the signal or the noise is coming on the lines going into that stage box. Of course, there could be digital noise coming from the digital cabling from the stage to the processor. If it runs along power lines, etc., try to always have some distance between digital cables. And I think the DI boxes and I'm not sure where the Scarlet is put into this. So this is missing some information here.
Here's my theory. I think, Don, what's going, and what do we know? We're just reading words on the screen. But if you went from a traditional analog system, which has a certain amount of inherent noise in it, and then you go to a more high quality digital audio system, it's possible that the noise being introduced by your DMX lighting, and I think, Ronnie, it could be as simple as like he's just got a Scarlet on the stage to pull audio off of a computer or something. We have often seen that those red Scarlet audio interface boxes are kind of crap. And it may very well be that the noise coming from the Scarlet is now just more present and more apparent because the rest of your audio signal path is just that much cleaner. But what do I know? Let's go to the next question.
Next question comes in from John Foltz in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. John asks, is anyone using Companion to set Dante routing instead of using Dante's controller?
Let's go to Norway, see what they say.
No, here in the Arctic, we don't do that stuff. We are kind of, I'm thinking of Dante as cables. So the only time you should be changing the patching on the cables is when you are reconfiguring big stuff. We don't necessarily have the needs to change Dante configuration during a show or in between shows that much. So I think of Dante's as more kind of a set configuration that is being set like this, and that's how it should be working. And then just use the audio mixers or the other interfaces or the things that are being added or removed from the Dante network to actually do the changing. So I know it's possible, but we don't do that, and I can't possibly see a scenario where that would be needed.
Hey, just out of curiosity, Ronnie, do you still have your live studio audience with you?
Yeah, they are sitting in the lounge a bit.
I wanted you to pan the camera over and they could wave. Marty, your input.
So I can see some scenarios where using Companion to change Dante presets, configuration presets, might come in handy. For example, churches with volunteers, and if you have a mixer that has fewer inputs than you have sources, you might want to change your Dante patching configuration from one day to a next day, not in the middle of a show, but you might have one kind of service or event, on one day, and another kind of service or event on another day. And if you have more inputs, more sources than you have inputs on your mixer, that might warrant a Dante change, but you don't necessarily want people who don't know what they're doing going into Dante Controller and manually doing patching. So setting up presets that you can change through Companion makes things very, very simple, repeatable, and more reliable.
Courtney, do you use any Dante stuff? Have you gotten into any of that?
I do not. I went when Dante first came out. I went to the demo of it, and I thought, well, this is great, but the buy-in because Audinate owned the technology, and you had to buy everything from them. It was kind of expensive, and doing field recording.
Another one of those
field
Walled
recording. You don't
gardens
need that
you hate.
many. Don't need that many. You asked. You don't need that many. Many channels to route around. I'm not doing stage or music mixing. I'm just doing dialogue mixing, so I don't need that many channels.
What's the next question?
The next question comes in from Tommy Shantz in St. Paul, Minnesota. He says, is anyone set up for ATMOS or Dolby at home? If so, what is it? If not, how are you listening to your movies and audio?
I use my earbuds. Ronnie?
So Pink Floyd, one of my favorite bands, started this in the 70s by using something called quadraphonic, so that made sound come from each corner of the stage or the venue we're in. And then clever people found out that if we had the center channel right in front of you, you can have voices coming out of that center speaker. So it's basically the start of what we called home cinema and multi-channel audio back in the days. I had a big home stereo system with 7.1, and where 7 is the number of speakers in total. So I had front main, I had center speakers, I had back speakers and side speakers. And then it evolved into even more advanced systems where you also have speakers on top in front of you, in top behind you, and on the sides. So eventually making this a really 3D experience. And if you haven't heard that, you should be going to one of the big conventions like NAB or NAM or whatever is in your part of the world, and listen to the demo setups that these big companies are using. And of course, big cinemas these days are having these magic sound systems, and also it comes with a lot of power, so you really feel the audio coming through. And what actually is with ATMOS is that you have, instead of having an audio pan to the left or to the right, just to use a basic understanding of that, you actually have an object that you can put into a 3D space, and as the editor or the creator of this soundscape for a film, for instance, you can put these small sound objects wherever you would like it to be. And then the processor on the player side, so in your home or in the cinema or in your phone, just use that information that follows each of these sound objects and put that into the same soundscape in a decoding manner, so it doesn't need to exactly know what volume it has to be in the left side or the right side. So it's more like a elemental or objects of sound bits that are being edited together. So that is what ATMOS is, and I don't have it at home. It's too big. My wife wouldn't let me.
Courtney, what do you use?
In my living room, right next to me and then behind me, you may see them over my shoulder, and maybe it's not wide enough, is some JBL L100s for 4 of them in this room in the 4 corners. And I have a Yamaha 7.1 system, which always comes on whenever I turn my TV on. But you know what? I very rarely turn up the knob on the Yamaha, and I almost always listen through my Vizio soundbar, because I find that when I try and listen through 7.1 to a movie or something on streaming, 9 times out of 10 they have it configured wrong, so that it mixes, and then suddenly the dialogue disappears. It will disappear across a cut. You go, what did he say? And suddenly it switches to the center channel, and then it switches to the outside channels, and the steering is wrong, and it's not being decoded correctly. So I just keep it on PCM stereo and feeding to my front sound bar because there's so many problems with decoding ATMOS accurately and encoding it accurately for your particular setup.
Do you find
keep it
Do you find that it's mostly a streaming issue? Did it happen as much when you watched Blu-rays? I'm assuming you probably had a Blu-ray player in your past.
I have a Blu-ray player, but I never really got into buying Blu-rays and ripping them or anything like that. So I imagine Blu-rays would be a little more accurate. Depends on who's authoring the Blu-rays. Yeah. I think that's a lot more accurate than depending on streaming, because depending upon your streaming device, and I've got 2 or 3 of them on my TV, and depending upon who encoded it, and et cetera, all down the line, and how it's being decoded. I
personally find that I spend so much time wrestling with technology for a living that when it comes to just kick it back and watch something, I want it as simple as possible. And my favorite way to watch a movie is with my Apple earbuds in, Bluetoothing off the Apple TV. Let's go to the next question.
Next one comes in from Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. Roscoe asks, where do you buy your batteries from online to make sure they are fresh, or is freshness just an issue for just a few?
Ronnie, where should I get my batteries?
IKEA. IKEA. No,
really?
So IKEA has a really, really high turnaround. So they are always kind of fresh. At least the 10 last orders I've had with IKEA here in Scandinavia. Could be that the Scandinavian main office has a newer battery that all the other stores have. No, I don't think so. But to be serious, you can get pretty good batteries from IKEA. They are not the top brand. We tend to order this from professional distributors that are distributing professionally to all the stages and theaters around in the country and the area. So that is, and if you get a bad batch, you just give them a call and say, "What's this? Send me a new one, please."
Marty, where do you get batteries?
Well, because I'm an equipment vendor, I get batteries from distribution, so I get them pretty close to directly from Everready and Duracell. And so they are, they're really fresh, but even then, I still get batteries that leak every once in a while after not too long. So it's, it's not foolproof. I don't know that I would buy them over the internet or through Amazon, because you really don't know where they're coming from or how long they've been on a shelf, sitting in a warehouse in the heat or, whatever. I would buy them from a place like Costco, because they go through high volumes of these things.
Turnover, yeah. It's an interesting angle.
A lot of turnover. Places like Battery Warehouse or something like that would also be a pretty safe bet to get your batteries from. So I would look to those kinds of sources.
Courtney, you've used a few batteries. Where do you get them?
I have, and I usually always buy them from Costco. Yes, the Duracells from Costco, because, they turn over, 10 or 20 cases of these a week. So, they're fresh, and those are 10-year shelf life with the new Power Boost ingredients. They do have the Kirkland brand. They do have the Kirkland brand. They're pretty well made. They do leak occasionally. So I do not put the Kirkland brands in anything that I value, that the leaking battery would damage the equipment. I usually put the Duracells in, especially if I'm going to leave those cells in and not operated for a long period of time, because I find that the Duracells will leak a little bit less than the Kirkland brands do. The Kirkland brands are a little cheaper. That's their house brand.
My first job as a kid, I worked for a guy who was a battery distributor, importer, and we would literally drive his Ford Econoline van to the docks in Oakland and pick up Duracells and Rayovacs right off the boats, and he would distribute them. We would mark the price on them, and then he would sell them to like 7-Elevens and little ma and pa stores. And his shtick, his gimmick was, I will put whatever price on the battery you want so you don't have to do it. And then he would pay me and his son, like below minimum wage, to put the price on these batteries. It was child labor. Marty, one last comment?
Yeah, one last comment is, why aren't you using rechargeables in this day and age?
I
know a lot of people that don't like them. Next question.
I do use them, but they're a little lower voltage. JJ McKenna from Scabo, California. JJS, I've read that Earthworks line are the best for capturing environmental audio clearly for use as Foley. Could you suggest an option around $200 to $400 price range?
Marty, what is this? Well, is this a line of microphones?
Yeah, Earthworks is a manufacturer up in New Hampshire. They developed their own product line a long time ago. They are perfectionists, and they have been known. They made their name in microphones that have really super fast transient responses, and they have a rather unique shape. They look like measurement microphones because they have this really tapered capsule. And the reason for that is so that you don't have a lot of material around the capsule where sound can reflect and refract and bounce around. So these things are super fast. They're super clean. They're very reliable. They have a really, really, really flat, neutral frequency response, which is what makes them great. And, what makes this microphone cost $869, right? To get something like that in the $200 to $400 range is going to be difficult. But there are, a lot of really nice microphones out there from Audio-Technica and Shure and others that are going to do a really nice job. Now, if you're you mentioned specifically capturing Foley. And Foley is an interesting method because you're capturing environment. Not only you're capturing the sound of what you're trying to recreate, whether it be footsteps or the effect or the sound of putting a water glass down on a table or whatever the actor is doing on stage, you're recreating that sound in an environment. And so oftentimes you're using an omnidirectional microphone rather than, say, a cardioid. So you have to choose your microphones carefully.
What do you say, Courtney?
Well, I think I've done a lot of Foley work and almost always use 416s or directional microphones rather than Earthworks. I always considered as more of an instrumentational microphone, like Marty was mentioning. That's how they got their start for doing, sound field measurement and for calibrating sound PA systems, et cetera, because they were full frequency response. And sometimes you don't want full frequency response and omnidirectional necessarily when capturing Foley, because you want to concentrate on the little tiny sounds that are made by jiggling some keys on a key ring or something, because you're going to use that sound in a completely different environment or, make it sound like something else in post-production. So usually I think, and most Foley work is done on a sound stage that is, you don't have the environment because it's all soundproofed and with no reflections of that stage. Usually, for most of the Foley stages that I've been in for recording, are all sound studios that are sound treated. So, usually a directional microphone to concentrate on just the sounds that you want to hear. You don't want to pick up the breathing of the Foley artist. And if you're recording footsteps, you just want to hear the footsteps on whatever surface you're recording, and not necessarily, the squeaking of their shoes or the creaking of their knees if you're my age. So you need to isolate the sound. As far as the Earthworks does make other microphones other than the types that were shown, they make these equivalent to a dynamic microphone here, an XLR streaming microphone for around $399, $400, and they make something that looks like one of the Shure's there, a supercardioid live vocal microphone. I think it's a condenser. And they make some drum mics. So take a look at their site because they do have some cheaper non-instrumentation quality microphones for doing music and vocal recording.
I want to apologize to the back-end crew. You guys do a much better job at what you're doing than what I'm doing here. I kind of suck at this host thing. I'm supposed to have given you a couple of announcements. The first announcement I should have given you like a half hour ago was if you're not in the Mukana, what the heck is that? You should be. It's like half the show. So go to officehours.global, look around. I don't know what the exact link is. And the Mukana is the whole, I referenced this earlier, it's the whole back-end system that we use for Q&A. And it's really fantastic. So it's half the show. Get that, watch live, do the thing. And then also, if you don't want to do that, there's also like a whole QR code thing that I'm supposed to have like in the frame right here, but nobody's ever given it to me, so sorry. But that's askofficehours.global is the shortcut way to go and answer a question. So do all that stuff. Somebody just put it up. Look at that. It's up right there. Thank you, back-end team. See, they are much better at they're doing what they do than I am at doing what I'm falling over my face trying to do. Let's go to the next question. Courtney?
Next one comes in from Douglas Carmichael. Douglas asks, I live in an area with dirty power. I want to keep electrical noise from affecting my audio. Would online double conversion UPS be a solution or a power conditioner?
Ronnie, what do you say?
Not necessarily. It could be that it helps, but making sure that all the equipment is connected to the same circuit is one of the tricks that can be used. So if you have equipment spread over multiple circuits, that could be one is going another way to ground and another one is doing the other way. So that could be things that can be fixed or not. But using a UPS, as you suggest, is definitely an expensive way to do it. I would probably be testing a few other things before I went all in and got this expensive. Especially if you need some wattage coming out of that, they are kind of more expensive per watt than other solutions. So maybe take a look at your entire audio setup and see if there are other easier ways to get hold of it. But of course, I'm talking with my perspective on power. In this area where we live in Scandinavia, we never had huge problems with dirty power. So your mileage may vary, but I would definitely try to fix the noise. But I'm not sure it always comes from the power circuits.
Courtney, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Ronnie hit on the big problem in the last part of that question. Last part of his answer is you don't know where the dirt is coming from necessarily. And these days, a lot of the dirt comes from after your power conditioner, from the switching power supplies that you plug in that are powering your equipment. And those high-frequency switching power supplies can generate high-frequency components that sneak into the grounds and sneak into anything else that's plugged into that same power, and they can beat against each other and cause harmonics that end up in your audio. So even if you have a power conditioner that is taking your line voltage and converting it to DC, and then it has a sine wave inverter and it's inverting it back to AC to supply all your beautiful audio equipment, if you've got a bunch of wall warts plugged in to that output of that that UPS converter, it's going to be noisy as well. And the thing that ground loops, which is what Ronnie was talking about, make sure that you have a single common ground on all of your audio equipment is all tied to the same ground, because different outlets in different parts of the house may be coming off of different windings on the transformer, and the ground potential may not be the same, so you're going to get a volt or two of AC noise on those grounds. And that can leak into your audio and create problems. So common grounding eliminates a lot of that 60 hertz noise. And if you have spikes, the UPS is good for eliminating spikes and low voltages. But as far as noise goes, they are all filtered for noise. But a lot of times that noise can sneak in from anything you plug in downstream of the UPS. So be cautious about that as well. If you do hear a lot of noise, unplug your power transformers or the power supplies from any of your laptops or anything else that you have plugged in there one at a time and see if the noise goes away. And if it goes away after you unplug one of those DC power, one of those power supplies, that's probably the source.
That was probably it. Yeah, Marty.
So, Ronnie, I'm envious. To live in an area with reliable power is amazing, and it's a true blessing. It's like that's what I want. In the U.S. here, that is entirely not the case. We have voltage fluctuations, we have brownouts, we have dirty power, we have noisy power. We've got all kinds of issues, in various different parts of the country. Even in like when I lived in New York City, we always ran power conditioners and backup generators and all kinds of stuff. I've got UPSs all over my house, on my living room, television system, on my computers here at my desk, my wife's computers upstairs. We've got UPSs with surge protectors, and even then, that's not a complete solution. There are different grades of UPS. There's standard, and then there's the double online conversion, which you were referring to, Douglas, which means that the AC power that it's putting out is always being run from the battery and being converted. You're not seeing direct AC power from the distribution. And that's, going to be more reliable. It's going to be cleaner. And then there's balanced power, like you might get from a company called Equitech. And balanced power takes your AC mains and it balances it up, much like a balanced microphone cable connection, so that any noise in the line gets canceled before it gets sent out to your equipment. And the cleaner your power, the less noise you're going to get in your sound system and even in your video system overall. So, as much as you can spend, because these things can get really expensive, is going to be, give you better results.
Next question, Courtney.
Okay, the next question comes in from Andy Kokendorfer from Vieira, Florida. Andy asked, the new Insta360 Link 2 was just released. Is it worth it? And he has a link to it.
Andy, I don't think anybody knows, but I will say I use the InstaLink 360 camera. That's what I'm using right here. And I really like it, and I'm very curious. So I just skimmed through the same stuff you're probably looking at. It looks super interesting. So I don't think anybody knows, but it looks super interesting. Courtney?
I have the original Insta360 Link, and the new version 2, you do give up one thing, which is the roll. It has a gimbal on there. There's the Link 2 and then the Link 2C. The C doesn't have any kind of gimbal on it.
You're right.
Stabilization. But the 2 is this one, just has pan and tilt. It does not have roll. So if you're in a situation where your laptop is going to be sitting on top of a wobbly desk or something and you want the horizon level, it's not going to do that for you.
That's a good point.
Set your own level.
Yeah, when I went to Texas for the eclipse a couple of years ago, was that 2 years ago? Good grief. It was, wow. I had the InstaLink mounted on the dash of my car going through my Mac, which I was Starlinking out to friends watching on Zoom. And when I went off-road, Jonas pointed out, he's like, oh, wow, it's self-leveling. I hadn't even thought of that. You're right. The what'd you call it? The roll? The roll. Yeah, that's a thing.
Pitcher, yaw. Yeah.
Right. Let's go to the next question.
Okay, from Chuck Swan in Bristol, Wisconsin. Whatever happened to the office hours hats? I wondered too. Ordered one back in October. Haven't seen any updates after the order confirmation. Any ETA? Did I miss something?
No, you probably didn't miss anything. The official word that I'm getting through our wonderful backend crew is they may start shipping as early as this weekend. So there you go. Good call on the hats. Also, the other announcement I should have given a while ago is that if you're interested in taking over my job or any of these jobs and getting involved in volunteering and doing it better, good luck. Not me. A shaved monkey could replace me. You can get involved. Again, go to officehours.global/volunteer. It is a great community of people that are working diligently on the back end, and you can learn how to put on a whole show with, the whole back end infrastructure that we do. So, officehours.global/volunteers. Courtney, next question.
Next one comes in from Douglas Carmichael. Boxcast has introduced a remote live mixing with Mixing Station Anywhere. What does the panel think of the concept?
Ronnie?
So we're using Mixing Station, and the first thing I was thinking, why are they using the Mixing Station brand name for Boxcast products? I was kind of feeling a little irritated, actually, annoyed. And then I dived into this and see that they are actually using Mixing Station as a software solution, web-based it seems, and that is really cool. I'm not talking to Boxcast as a service or whether that is a really good service or not. I have heard that they are very good at using long buffer times. So if you have an unreliable link, you can still have a smooth experience using Boxcast. And the fact that they are starting to use a Mixing Station as their main, or maybe not the main, but a good way of doing remote mixes, that is really cool tech. I really have to use some time and dive into that and see how they're doing that, because we are doing similar stuff sometimes, and the Mixing Station is a really, really cool software.
Courtney, next question.
Next one comes in from New York City. Brody Hefner has the question. The new ATEM G2 Mini Extreme ISO has significant audio upgrades from other popular ATEM models. What are some use cases for the G2?
I'll say this, it has a really long name, so it must be a very, very powerful switcher. I will say this, nobody's raised their, Courtney has a comment, but I will also say that just last night, we did a whole live show about the ATEM switchers, and I can't imagine they didn't discuss this. I think they also gave one away. Is that true? Is that the rumor I heard? Did you get that, Courtney? Did they give it to you?
They did. I watched the show.
Awesome. And you got it?
Did give it away. Somebody won them a $2,000 mixer.
Oh, so they gave away the new G2.
Switcher.
The G2 is about twice the amount of the G1, so it's got to be at least twice as good.
It's got to be twice as good, yeah.
What's your take on it?
It's designed primarily, it has the interface and the button. It has less buttons on it, so some people liked that. It has improved switches on the main buttons, the camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, etc. buttons, backlit buttons. It has a T-bar. So you can use that. And it has better audio inputs. I think its main design is for a desktop switcher for live presentations, like conferences and things where you're going to be sending things to a iMag screen and or streaming out. So it's great for that kind of stuff as an all-in-one device that lets you combine the audio and the video and the switcher and the controls all in one. So sitting at a desk operating everything.
Marty, briefly, we're almost out of time.
And it has actual XLR combo inputs.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, isn't
balanced inputs, finally, with microphone preamps if you need them.
So, I do think that a lot of us want to complain about the audio interfaces in many of the ATEMs, many of which have come out in the last 5 years. And let's not forget that there was a whole shortage of chips and whatnot and technology. And I think a lot of the design of some of those switchers over the last several years were limited by supply chain issues. So let's go very briefly. I want to skip the next. Okay, let's go to the next question. And Courtney, you can talk about that. We're running out of time.
Guy Cochran in Seattle, Washington says, what did you think of the Tuesday ATEM Specials show, which is we were just talking about? I think it went really well. I loved the panelists that were on there. We were a very experienced group of panelmen, Aaron Parecki and a lot of Muddy and a lot of the people that are in the streaming business and have used a lot of the ATEM hardware. So it was very informative. They did have a little technical glitch if you're watching on YouTube. There was a disturbance in the net. It was Zoom's problem. It wasn't the problem of our back-end and office hours. So they did have a little issue with frame rate dropping and people dropping out and freezing for only about 10 minutes, but it came back and everything was smooth after that. And they did give away the G2 at the end.
Ronnie?
Yeah, just go watch it. It was a lot of cool stuff going on in that. A lot of questions were sent back, but, great guys and great entertainment.
Go to the next question.
All righty. Next question comes in from Vic Hernandez in Springfield, Missouri. I use a 40-inch primary monitor flanked by two 24-inch monitors angled toward me for better viewing. Should I be concerned about audio reflections? The room has acoustic treatments, and primary use is a MV7 for dialogue.
Well, think about billiards. When you're playing pool and you do a bank shot, the angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. And so make sure that your monitors don't reflect your voice off the monitor back to the microphone. Angle the monitors up or out or at some angle so that you're not reflecting right back into your microphone. It's really that easy. And use a good quality cardioid microphone that is properly positioned so that it's rejecting sound coming from the direction of the monitors.
Ronnie, briefly, we're out of time.
Just have to agree. For the first time, I have to agree with Mickey Matador is in the chat. Yes, it has some. Use your headphones, do a recording, and then listen to it, and then turn away your monitors and do the same thing again. You will definitely hear a difference in those two recordings.
All right. Sorry for being a little curse there, a little brief, a little cutting you guys off. I apologize. Courtney, I apologize to you. You're a wealth of information. I was a little hard on you
We try
earlier.
not to curse here, but
Terse. I think I said terse.
Terse or curt. You combine the two and meant curse.
I'm gonna curse plenty as soon as this is over. Anyway, had this been a real discussion and had you had to fly around and get all these answers from all these people, this would have taken you 16,000 miles, 29,000 kilometers. I don't know what that really means, and 130 million bananas and or SM58s for scale. This has been episode 2129. That's a lot of stuff. Anyway, we'll be back. We'll do it again next time. Thanks for listening. Bye. Roll the credits. Roll the credits. Credits.
Roll 'em.
Watch The Diplomat. Oh my goodness, I'm enjoying that show.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've been having to blow off clients. Hey, how's my video coming? Yeah, really working on it. Meanwhile, I watched like 6 episodes yesterday in the middle of the day.
I'm binging. Please don't disturb me while I'm binging.
I'm trying to get through season 2 of The Diplomat. Anyway, thanks everybody.
I'm going to go back to watching.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Nice show.
Bye-bye.